Okay, so where were we? We're on archetypes. There are an infinite number of possible character concepts, but you might find that the class feats and skill choices aren't sufficient to fully realize your character. Again, who are you, and why are there so many of you? Archetypes allow you to expand the scope of your character's class. Applying an archetype requires you to spend... Okay, I'm not repeating that. Anyway. Each archetype's dedication feat represents... No, wait, I already read that. No. We went to multi-class archetypes and prestige. Alright, so here are some sample archetypes. Archetypes with the prestige trait represent the pinnacle of power and ability in a narrow field of expertise. These frequently have extensive prerequisites and are distinguished by the prestige trait. You can never have more than one prestige archetype dedication feat. Prestige archetypes typically require an event to have happened in the story. Oh yeah, that's right. So are mechanics dictating story also, or what's happening here? Pathfinder Playtest Rulebook contains the following archetypes for you to use in your game. A Cavalier makes you into a mounted knight. A Cleric multiclass allows you to become an ordained priest, granting divine boons and spells. A Fighter multiclass trains you in the use of arms and armor. A Grey Maiden... Oh, no, okay, so this is a prestige. The others were, okay. Actually, there's no... A Cavalier is just, that's general. Anyway, is a special order of all female warriors. Some fight to liberate the tormented, while others draw strength from pain. Well, we'll get to that, I guess. Pirate grants familiarity with the weapons of the sea and makes you adept at fighting while on a boat. Rogue makes you better at sneaking, stealing, and striking from the shadows. Wizard allows you to dabble in arcane magic. So the Cavalier, you're a mounted knight ready to stand against any foe with your trusty steed. How you fight from your mount can vary from striking with a lance to casting spells. Alright, hey, I'm Daniel, if everything's gravy. Corda, thank you for kind of being like a helper go-between. But hopefully everything's good, right? King, Daniel, etc. Cavalier dedication. Okay, so this is an archetype and is a dedication. It requires you're trained in nature. You're a Cavalier in service to a knightly order. You must follow the order's edicts, or you lose access to the Cavalier dedication and all other feats from this archetype. Determine the specifics of your order's edicts with your GM. I mean, hopefully it doesn't have an anathema like you're caught riding a cow. Even though you have horse training and you're given a horse, very specifically your anathema is don't ride anything other than a horse. You gain the service of a trained mount, which is treated as a young animal companion. Normally, you can choose only an animal companion with a mount special ability, such as a horse. The GM might allow you to select another type of animal companion appropriate to your ancestry and culture, but that animal companion doesn't gain the mount special ability. Special, you cannot select another dedication feat until you have gained 2 other feats from the Cavalier archetype. Okay, so such as Cavalier's Banner or Challenge, because neither of these are dedications. No, wait, are they? Hang on. Oh, no, this is a dedication. You get another dedication feat. Oh, but wait, no. The prereq is a Cavalier dedication. Got it. Okay, so it does have to be a descriptor in the box up here. You fly a banner of your knightly coat of arms on your mount's back, boosting your allies' morale. You and allies within 30 feet of the banner who can see the banner gain a +1 circumstance bonus to saves against fear effects. When allies with the frightened condition end their turn within 10 feet of the banner and can see the banner, they reduce their frightened condition by 2 instead of 1. If the banner is destroyed, allies who witness its destruction lose all benefits. So it's a feat, but it sounds like this is more like a magic item to me. Right? This is a feat for your character, And it has nothing to do with your character, except you are the one who's bearing the banner. But you're not the source. I mean, mechanically, you could just have a dirty pair of underwear and a stick as a banner, and your allies will take comfort and solace in that. Because you don't matter, as long as you're the one holding the stick. Challenge. Select one foe that you can see and proclaim a challenge. Until the start of your next turn, you add a conditional bonus to damage rolls with your weapon or unarmed strikes against that foe. And you take a +1 circumstance. Wait, hang on. Until the start of your next turn, you add a conditional bonus to damage rolls with your weapon or unarmed strikes against that foe, and you take a -1 circumstance penalty to AC against all foes, but the target of your challenge. The damage bonus is equal to the number of damage dice your weapon or unarmed attack deals. If no ally attacks the target of your challenge, or otherwise assists you in any way before the start of your next turn, the challenge lasts until the end of your turn, instead of expiring at the start. Okay. Knightly Steed. The mount you gain through Cavalier dedication is now treated as a full-grown animal companion. So here we have different stages of animal companion even, for more variety, more things to track. An impressive, and by the way, so remember, these are the minimum levels that you must be to take that feat, is in the block here. The mount you gain through Cavalier dedication is now a savage or nimble animal companion. During an encounter, even if you don't use the command and animal action, your mount can still take one action that round on your turn to stride or strike. It is... I think it reflects, even if it's something so small. I mean, I guess it is, right? If your proficiency goes up every time you gain a level, a -1 penalty is nothing. By the time you're, what, level 10? You have a 10 proficiency if you're at least basically trained, if not higher. Unless I'm misunderstanding something. So yes, I would say that a -1 AC penalty to everything but your challenge target really, even at low levels, it seems to lose a lot of its oomph, even right out the gate. Or you can have an amazing steed. The steed. Look at this horse. This horse is amazing. You give it a lick. It tastes just like raisins. The mount you gain through Cavalier dedication is now a specialized animal companion, taking a so really, by being a Cavalier, nothing... Challenge is on you. Challenge is on you, but the banner has really nothing to do with you, because it's an inanimate object that's not even magical. And everything else is about your steed, I guess. So, I don't know. It is what it is. I'm not sure what it means by damage bonus being equal to how many dice your weapon has. So it's -1 to AC, +1 to damage. Like a really complicated power attack that works off AC. I don't know, let's go back again. So select one foe that you can see and proclaim a challenge. Until the start of your next turn, you add a conditional bonus to damage rolls with your weapon or unarmed strikes against that foe. And you take a -1 circumstance penalty to the AC against all foes, but the target of your challenge. The damage bonus is equal to the number of damage dice your weapon or unarmed attack deals. So yeah, it would, instead of rolling 1d8, it would allow you to roll 2d8, is what it sounds like. So it'd be 2d8 damage, and you take a -1 AC penalty to everyone but your selected target. If no ally attacks the target of your challenge or otherwise assists you in any way before the start of your turn, the challenge lasts until the end of your turn instead of expiring at the start. Wait, the damage bonus is equal to the number of damage dice your weapon deals. It almost sounds like if you have a 2d8 weapon, you get +2. You add a conditional bonus to damage rolls. The damage bonus... Oh, that's true. So yeah, since you have 2 damage dice, unless... Yeah. So yeah, so if you do have a 2d8 weapon, you get a +2. I'm sorry. It doesn't increase your dice, it's just a static bonus based on how many dice you would normally roll in that circumstance. Daniel, you're going to go to sleep. You've stayed up for too long. You need to travel. Travel safely. Daniel, thank you for coming by. I hope we were able to help you out. And if we can, hey, you know where to come and ask. Thank you for being a part of the channel tonight, Daniel. So yeah, King, I guess it's a -1 AC, and then it would be like a +1 or +2, depending on the type of weapon you use, I guess. Unless you do something, I don't know, would something like extra D6s from a sneak attack? Could you be a Cavalier Rogue? Bonus to damage rolls with your weapon. The damage equals the number of damage dice your weapon or unarmed... No, I guess it would just be based on the weapon itself, nothing else. So yeah, I guess it's like a floating +1 or +2 damage. Unless you have something else that intrinsically increases that on the weapon rider or on that weapon line. What else? Cleric. You're an ordained priest to your deity and have even learned how to cast a few divine spells. Even though your main training lies elsewhere, your religious calling provides you divine gifts. You cast spells like a cleric. You gain access to the cast of spell activity and the material casting, somatic casting, and verbal casting actions. You can prepare 2 cantrips each day from the divine list, or any other cantrips you learn or discover. You're trained in spell rolls and spell DCs. Okay, your key spell casting ability is Wisdom. You can use wands, scrolls, and staves, but only for spells of a level that you can cast. Religion is a signature skill for you. Choose a deity as you would if you were a cleric. So you're basing that purely off of the mechanical goodies you get. You're bound to that deity's anathema. So if you are a cleric of light, life, fire, and you start raising undead, that's bad. And you should feel bad, and you'll be denied some aspects of your class because of that. You cannot select another dedication feat until you've gained 2 other feats from the cleric archetype. Basic cleric spellcasting. You gain a level 1 spell slot. Okay, so you can cast more. Basic dogma. Gain a level 1 or level 2 cleric feat. Domain. Select one of your deity's domains. You gain the initial domain power tied to your domain and a pool of spell points equal to your wisdom modifier that you can use to cast that power. If you already have a pool of spell points, you use the higher ability score to determine the pool is normal. And your spell pool increases by 1. Advanced Dogma, gain 1 cleric feat. For the purposes of meeting its prerequisites, your cleric level is equal to your actual level. Divine Breath. You can cast more divine spells each day. Increase the spell slots you gain from cleric archetype feats by 1. Expert cleric spellcasting. Master. Okay, so that's just it's a tier up. You can multi-class fighter by taking this as an archetype. You become trained in light armor, medium armor, heavy armor, simple weapons, martial weapons. Interestingly enough, but not shields. I wonder why shields was excluded. Unless that's something else that's that you get later on. Basic maneuver, get a level 1 or 2 fighter feat. Fighter resiliency, you gain 3 additional hit points for every feat you have from the fighter archetype. As you continue selecting fighter archetype feats, the additional hit points also increase. Advanced maneuver, so it's higher, it's more feats. King. What has you roll? I mean, King, you are a lich, so you actually have the ability to roll in your grave. What has you rolling in your grave now? Grey Maiden. The Grey Maidens are an all-female order of warriors, survivors of brainwashing and torture, who were liberated when their queen and tormentor fell at the hands of adventurers. Some sought to protect others from such torment, calling themselves the Scarlet Rose. Others flocked to the banner of diabolical Cheliacs, calling themselves the Erenes Company. You're a member of this elite order, whether you're a seasoned veteran or a new recruit. I am not against the mechanics that are presented here. I mean, we haven't gone over how it's worded. The fact that in the opening chapter, or the opening of the book, I think on 2 or 3 different occasions, the book has waggled its finger at you, telling you that you are not allowed to hold certain views, which I don't necessarily disagree with. I mean, maybe kind of the finger waggling portion, or inserting that kind of stuff into a role-playing book. The fact, though, that we mechanically now have a gender-locked option in a book that on 2 or 3 occasions told you that such things should be discouraged and aren't allowed. I mean, it might as well have said that, you know, it's a clan of all-male barbarians. Or something along those lines. Or it's, I don't know, it's one thing or the other. So seeing this after they went out of their way to, on 2 or 3 occasions, make sure that you know everyone is welcome to play anything and everything that they want, it seems a bit jarring. I'm not against an all-female order of something. In fact, when I ran Dark Heresy, I had a Sister of Battle. And that is very exclusively all-female. Like, for sure. Unashamedly. You know, to the detriment of anything else. But then again, Dark Heresy didn't have the introduction that this one did. And I don't know. What is it? Is it actually okay then? That in Pathfinder, despite what it says in the opening chapter, we can have all-male groups or all-female groups? That kind of a thing? Am I making a big deal of something? I don't want to seem petty, because I don't know. Let's look at removing that, okay? Setting that off to the side. Let's not even care about that. Let's look at the mechanics and how it's written. Because you know what? If you're a GM running this, and you don't agree that this is a female character only option, and it's open to everyone, as seemingly everything else in the book is, I don't know. Let's check out what cool stuff you have, whether you're a boy or girl. Your Grey Maiden training has steeled you against harsh physical conditions. You become a master at fortitude saves. When you succeed at a fortitude save, treat it as a critical success. You also gain access to special armor, Grey Maiden Plate. Grey Maiden Plate is a level 3 item that costs 600 silver pieces, grants +7 AC and +3 touch AC, and has a dexterity modifier cap of +0. Otherwise, it uses the same stats as full plate. I guess this is an example of a Grey Maiden. Although I kind of like that they have like this, whatever, kind of a Thri-Kreen looking character and how they conceptualize the helmet on it. Anyway, you cannot select another dedication. Okay, so yeah, it's a dedication. You become an expert with shields and Grey Maiden plate. Wait, okay, so you take this at 6. Okay. You gain access to it, but this makes you an expert level with shields and this special armor. The scars from your initiation make your body tough. You gain resistance to slashing equal to your constitution modifier. You can endure a staggering amount of punishment. Increase your maximum HP by your level, increasing as you gain additional levels. You die at dying 5 or dying 6 if you also have Die Hard. Erenyi's blood. Like an Erenyi's devil, you relish the sight of your own blood, drawing strength from terrible wounds. While you're taking persistent bleed damage, you gain a +2 conditional bonus to damage rolls and become Accelerated 10. Whenever you take slashing or piercing damage, as a free action, you can also take persistent bleed damage equal to the number of damage dice you took. You inspire an ally. This is Scarlet Rose Devotion. You inspire an ally to shake off a negative effect. The ally attempts a new save against each effect it's under that allows an additional save each round to remove or diminish the effect. The ally is then bolstered to your Scarlet Rose Devotion. You become a master with shields and Grey Maiden plate. Reduce your speed penalty for Grey Maiden plate from 10 feet to 5. So hey, if you play a dwarf, you actually get free movement and full plate. Maiden Armor Legend. You become legendary with shields and Grey Maiden plate. Reduce your check penalties from shields and Grey Maiden plate by 1. Okay. With the exception of this gender lock trait, it seems to make you, I mean, it makes you into a juggernaut, right? I'd say a barbarian, but barbarians are presented differently in Pathfinder. But it's just it's a heavy armor option. Well, but you see, King, I mean, so they have the disclaimers that, look, we will not tolerate this sort of behavior, etc. And then it has a gender-locked advancement, or whatever. So, ignoring that, and just looking at the mechanics, whether you're a boy or a girl, it just seems to make you a really heavily armored fighter. Well, Corrida, this isn't even really being cynical. Because if what was brought up in the beginning of the book wasn't brought up, I don't think seeing something like this would be an issue. Not that I'm making an issue. The world is still turning. The sun is going to come up. The sun will rise in the east and set in the west. I mean, unless we've seen the yellow sign and the stars are right for Cthulhu to return. You had to step away. So, Corrida, in the book, on at least 2, if not 3 separate occasions, the book, the writers of the book, or whatever, have said that in this role-playing game, everyone has a seat at your table. Everyone should be made to feel comfortable. Everyone, that your game should be, I think they use the term safe space. I'm not even trying to be whatever. I'm not trying to be political or whatever. Your game should be a safe space for people to not feel uncomfortable, etc. and so forth. And the book went out of its way to say that 2 or 3 times in different sections. And I'm not even against the message. Now, when you say it repeatedly or at all in the context of it's a fantasy role-playing book, it's kind of weird. But then later on, we see this Grey Maiden that is an exclusive gender-locked, rules as written. It's an exclusive gender-locked ability. Even when the book itself said that there are no mechanical differences in stats or whatever between males and females, it makes you scratch your head. There seems to be a tremendous amount of lore behind this, right? It's an all-female order of warriors, so they survive victimization, they survive this brainwashing and whatever. It's talking about them being like scarred and physically abused. There seems to be a ton of lore here, and I get that. But again, when you're writing content, the things that you say, or even the things that you don't say, can seem at odds. And in this case, when a sentiment has been brought up, and now we have this, and that's why I said, let's not even look at it like it's a female-only option. Let's pretend that any character can go into this specialized plate mail and shield-using class, and it makes you like a juggernaut. It's a cool class. I dig the thematics of it. I dig the story behind it, and then that just seems to trivialize, marginalize, or make the gender lock completely arbitrary. Which I have a feeling they actually wanted to have this be the other way around, where instead it allowed female characters to stand up and be, like a Wonder Woman character. Am I against female players? Heck no. In fact, about half of my players at my Curse of Strahd game are female. Am I against female characters? Heck no. About every other character I play a female character. It's just a weird inconsistency in otherwise a game that was prefaced and charged with this kind of sentimentality that it can just seem a little grating, or kind of like an oddball placement. Kames Pact, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, you came in at a rant of consistency and writing and whatnot. About developing a culture of role-playing. Kames, it has been a while, so hello to you. The male version down below. The next one is Pirate. The next one's Pirate, Corrida. Are you kidding, Fluffy? I think, given the pure mechanics, take the exclusion out of it. Mechanically, you would go down here if you want to play an armored juggernaut. You're wearing special full plate armor. You are an expert with shields. You can take all this punishing damage. You have scars over your body from this initiation. So you either are just not receiving damage from an AC, or you can mitigate damage. This is mechanically this class is, you put it in front of you and you have a tank, from how it sounds. This is cool. I love the concept. The lore is perfectly fine. But when we pineapple pen the meta concept of the game to the inner crunch of the game, it's just not lining up. Kames, I do not know about not feeling comfortable. Is making someone less than comfortable experiences and events in the game something that would make the world feel more real? You've not looked into D&D in a while, so when I looked at D&D Beyond today, I was very surprised. Oh, I don't know if they've reset the site or whatnot. I don't go on Beyond too much, Kames, but that was part of my issue too. When we first read that, is the book telling me that I can't bring up topics through a very clear film of fantasy roleplay or dramatic storytelling that would challenge people's sensibilities? Or can I not play an old grumpy misogynistic character that over the course of the entire campaign actually learns to be a better person and accept everyone? Again, it's the things that you state as a writer. Whether it's a rule book, a fiction book. I mean, King, if you can... it sounds like you do a lot of editing. The things that you say carry weight and meaning and significance. And even the things then that you do not say after things that you say can do the same. Corrida, and I doubt you're against female lore stuff. That is correct. I don't care. We can have orc-specific lore. We can have female half-orc-specific lore. A division of knights that are made up exclusively of female half-orcs. And that is perfectly fine. I love story. I love storytelling. I love challenges. I love a world. But as you said, it's everything so far has made it obvious that there's no gender-specific stuff. And now we hit something, and then it's under the umbrella of you shouldn't be doing that. It just feels weird. And I don't want to feel weird. Especially when the book says that I shouldn't feel weird being a part of this game. If there's a male lore version, it would have said there's the living up to their word. They decided... No mechanics lock based on gender except Grey Maiden is your tank style, and there isn't a male version below. Hey, 12 for 10 cents. Good morning to you. Fluffy Sheep just playing off King's feminist slogan thing. No, I understand. I understand. And am I upset in the grand scheme? Heck no. I think having an organization like this in your own homebrew world, let alone running it in Pathfinder, it could be cool. It sounds like there's a lot of history here. In that case, what do? You need a suit to get a job, but you gotta have a job to buy the suit. You are a pirate. You have sailed the seas, plundering hapless merchant ships and fighting against royal navies, all for the lust of gold and the call of the open ocean. As your ability grows, you become one with your sailing vessel, moving effortlessly across deck and boarding other ships, and you learn tricks in combat that make you both a canny fighter and more successful thief. Do you have to be a pillaging pirate, or can you just be a really good sailor? Am I drawing straws? I mean, it's good roleplay fluff. It doesn't say you have to be evil or anything, so you can fluff it the other way. Just like if you want the Grey Maidens to be the gray duders or whatever, the Grey brothers, you can do that. Have fun with it. This is your world. What you're seeing here, these are suggestions. I was thinking of it as interesting for, say, a female to have a bit of an uncomfortable experience with some sort of shadowy beast. Then it could be the reason why she's suddenly multi-classed in the Shadow Sorcerer. Dark stuff is something that really gets interesting. Well, yeah, because oftentimes, you know, fear or pain or other things motivate us to become stronger or to go back and fight the thing that made us feel weak because we are stronger. And so, yeah, it could be, you know, who wants to see friends or family murdered in front of them? No one. But if we're telling a fictional story, and you know, we agree that as a part of the story, you as a child saw your parents killed in front of you by the bad guys from the other country's army that are invading. I mean, could that make you feel uncomfortable? Possibly. Because you don't like thinking of death and dying and murder. Murder, death, kill. Murder, death, kill. But then are we being what's the right word? Not obtuse. What is it if we're taking what they've written, and we're taking it to the extreme? And we're holding this one aspect to the highest, most watertight regard, despite anything else. Because I want to make sure whatever... I'm sure there's a word for that concept. It's not facetious. Sarcastic? No. Anyway, you know, I want to make sure we're not practicing that and then casting final judgment on one thing. Berserk is some good stuff, though the last arc has a bit of a wash. Berserk is a story I very much enjoy due to how dark it is. Oh, yeah. Kames. Berserk is the stuff. And you know what? There's a lot of gory or uncomfortable things that happen in Berserk. But because of the way the story's presented, it makes you want to overcome that bad stuff, that dark stuff. It makes you want to take that Dragon Slayer sword, and it makes you, not just Guts, or you through Guts, want to just cut all that bad stuff in half. It challenges you. It says you are going to grow up and you're going to get stronger. Because the world doesn't care about you, and it is a savage place, and you are nothing in it. Unless you make yourself something. And what's going to help you along the way is seeing friends and family uncomfortable, savaged, killed, lost, transformed. It is a nuclear vessel. Fluffy sheep, yes. Hopefully they'll listen to the tidbit that their own words are sounding hypocritical if there really isn't a male version. Even if there's not, again, just make your own. Especially because they say that there's no difference mechanically in the genders in Pathfinder. So why not have it apply to guys too? If anyone gets offended at that, I don't know. Pirate sounds like fluff to start it off. Yeah, I would agree. It's fluffy. You've taken a small break to let Berserk build up. Gotcha, Kames. If you can shotgun, like, large portions of Berserk, oh, it feels so good. You're not taking a break, Kane. Mira is making you take a break. Oh, is October the next one coming out? And you know what? You know what, King? I bet he's out playing Idolmaster the whole time. He has I guarantee you, this man has the entirety of Berserk written. And he just takes, like, 6-month breaks to just constantly play Idolmaster until he decides to release the next chapter. Corridor, this is absolutely a playtest. And I've made sure to reiterate that as many times as I can along the way. This is Pathfinder 2e playtest. This is the playtest. We haven't finished the document yet. Let's reserve judgment until the end. Hyperbolic? Yeah. I actually, King, I think that's it. We were engaging in hyperbole, or we were being hyperbolic. Thank you very much. The most epic thing about the games is that you can basically change any of this stuff. Exactly, Kames. Fluffy Sheep, how can we take any of this seriously when there's an AOL address? Exactly. I've had that since 1.0, Fluffy Sheep. It has built up quite an amount of spam. Well, like spam people who send out whatever. But yeah, I've had that since AOL put like AOL discs inside of every magazine subscription. They emailed you sleeves of DVDs or CDs, not even DVDs. Folks who take issue with things are often seeking to take issue if it's not one thing. Yeah, there's really no satisfying. There's no satisfaction for those who do tend to have these tendencies. King, pretty sure he knew exactly what he wanted to do after he penned the secret lost chapter where Griffith meets God. Yeah, it's a playtest, Corridon. Kames, just use the base as a skeleton of the game. The rules you like exactly. Yep. Look. I ain't even mad, bro. We are not in the realm of the Mad Bros. Do you know if there's a version of these games? Yes. Kames Pact. 40K has, well, it's now called something else. There was Dark Heresy. Oh, I love Dark Heresy. I ran that for years. It's a percentile-based game. I love it because I like 40K lore, but I really enjoyed Dark Heresy. They came out, Fantasy Flight came out with Dark Heresy Second Edition, And I didn't get to play that, which I think was mostly like first edition with some tweaks. And then there is a new version of the 40K roleplay coming out, and it's called Honor and Glory, I think is the name of it. Honor and Glory. I will definitely recommend Dark Heresy. First edition Dark Heresy. But if you want to get second edition or even look into Honor and Glory, which I think there's a free download because they had a free RPG Day packet with an adventure and a rules book, you can look into that, Kames Pact. Okay, so you can multi-class rogue as a pirate. Pirate dedication: when you balance aboard a ship, treat a success as a critical success, etc. Heave ho. You can time your attack with the motion of the boat to knock an opponent off balance. Make a melee weapon strike against a foe that is aboard a boat using the following enhancement. Your foe must attempt an acrobatics check to balance against your class DC. On a failure, the foe is knocked prone. If its result is a critical failure, the foe is pushed 10 feet away and knocked prone. Rope runner, sea legs, okay. Rogue, so this is a multi-class rogue that you can take that's going to give you some splashy bits of rogue to whatever else, or you can splash in wizard as well. Yeah, you're very welcome, Kames. Good to have you back, and thank you for the questions and participating in the conversation. Animal companions are loyal comrades who follow your orders. They have the minion trait, so they gain 2 actions during your turn if you use the command an animal action to command them. So if you spend one of your actions, they get 2. This is in place of the usual effect of command an animal. If your companion dies, you can spend a week of downtime to replace it at no cost. You can have only a single animal companion. Pardon me. You or an ally can ride your animal companion as long as it's at least 1 size larger than the rider. If you do, it can use only its land speed unless it has the mount special ability. In addition, if someone is riding your animal companion and it doesn't have the mount special ability, it can't use the work together action. Kames, your main problem with the games is what makes is sadly that they're social. One of the things that makes me want to play them. One of the things that make me want to play them. Okay, so the conflict is that you don't want to be social, but you want to play these games. I don't know if I fully understood your last sentence, Kames. Yeah, Corey. Well, and the point of these are to super specialize your character. So that pirate is doing just that. Oh, you're not good with people, you're shy. Well, Kames, look. In a setting like this, and I do agree with what the book said. I mean, as much as we were talking about before, you know, well, come on. Pathfinder, which way are you going to have it? There is an intrinsic social contract that you make with your friends or family when you sit down and play a role-playing game like this. Now, I can't tell you what the terms of it are because every single one is different. But you really don't have to worry because everyone is there for the same reason. You might as well say, I'm shy going to the movie theater because I think the guy next to me watching the movie might be judging me for watching the same movie. Having to gather a group and play with them, even when there are people asking me to join, it's hard. You know, Kames, look. You want to learn how to swim, you got to jump in the water. Do it. Have fun with it. Make a character that you feel comfortable playing and play that character. Again, look at it like this. It's like being concerned that that a guy next to you in the movie theater is judging you the whole time that you're in the movie theater watching the exact same movie that he is. And maybe even laughing at the same jokes. Or, you know, screaming at the horror or whatever. Or laughing at the horror. I don't know. We all have different personalities. Okay, so here we get into... Yes. So there are 4 different types of animal companions. Yes, such judgment. Such judgment. The following are the base statistics for a starting animal companion, a young companion. Make adjustments for the type of animal, as well as adjustments for full-grown, savage, or nimble, and any specializations. Animal companions calculate their modifiers and DCs just as you do, though with the exception of barding allows an item bonus to AC of up to +2. They never benefit from item bonuses. Proficiencies, your animal companion uses your level to determine its proficiency modifier. It's trained in unarmed strikes, unarmored defense, barding, all saving throws, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Full-grown companions. Make the following adjustments to a young companion to make it a full-grown companion. Increase the companion's strength, dex, con, etc. Okay. Nimble companions. Make the following adjustments to a full-grown companion to make it a nimble companion, etc. so forth. Savage. Make the following adjustments to a full-grown companion to make it a savage companion, etc. and so forth. Also, if your companion is medium or smaller, it grows in size by 1 category. Each companion type grants several benefits. The size entry indicates your companion's starting size as a young companion. The unarmed strikes entry lists any unarmed strikes the animal has. The abilities entry lists which 2 ability modifiers the companion increases by 1. The hit points entry indicates the companion's starting ancestry hit points. The skill entry indicates your companion's additional train. Okay, etc. Cheers. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's light placement or what's going on here with the green screen. Maybe I can give it a little adjustment. I think part of it over here is because I have a fan blowing that's causing it to ripple a little bit, so you can kind of see a little bit of stuff going on. Also, when I came back after the break, maybe I didn't pull it all the way up or whatnot. Thank you, though. Okay, so, yeah, there's a work together action that you can take. And here's several companions. A badger. Your companion is a badger, a wolverine, or another big mustelid. It gets all of this stuff here. It can go into a badger rage. You can take a bear that has a bear hug. There's some kind of a flyby attack. Your companion's a big cat, such as a leopard or tiger. Okay. And it can get cat pounce. You can get a dromaeosaur. Your companion is a dromaeosaur, also called a raptor, such as a velociraptor or a Deinonychus. And it absolutely, yeah, that's right. It doesn't care at all. I can get a darting attack. There's a horse. A snake. It's a snake. It's a snake. Badger. Snakes can constrict. You can take a wolf. Wolf. V-U-L-F, I say. A wolf. Wolves have the wolf trip. Make a trip attempt against the target of your jaw strike, ignoring your multiple attack penalty. You can specialize them. Specialized companions are significantly more intelligent than other animals and can engage in more complex behaviors. The first time an animal companion gains a specialization, its proficiency rank for unarmed strikes increases to expert, etc., etc. So you can have an ambusher. That's right, you can have a snick. You can have an ambusher. Uh-oh. You can have a bully. Are you going to bully people at the table? Please no bully. Your companion terrorizes foes with displays of dominance and pushes them around the battlefield. Its proficiency ranks in athletics and intimidation increase to expert. Its strength modifier increases by 1 and charisma modifier increases by 3. You can have a daredevil, a racer, a tracker, or a wrecker. Your companion smashes things around. If it deals more damage than an object's hardness, it dents the object twice, even if it doesn't deal twice the object's hardness and damage. Its proficiency rank in athletics increases to master, and its strength modifier increases by 1. How did that quote go in Metal Gear Solid again? Which one, Corita? I guess I'm asking you and you're asking me. Familiars are mystically bonded creatures tied to your magic. Most familiars were originally animals, though the ritual of becoming a familiar makes them something more. You can choose a tiny animal you want as your familiar, such as a bat, cat, frog, lizard, raven, or snake. Familiars have the minion trait, and so they gain 2, etc., and so forth. Sharing some DCs, hit points, senses, familiar abilities as located on the chart here. Well, a cleric. All right, so now we come to deities. Oh, gotcha. Oh, yeah. All right. Gotcha. While a cleric selection of deity is critical, most characters pay respect to one or more deities, especially in times of hardship or need. Those who reject the divine might find themselves adrift in the afterlife, without a home for their souls to find peace, or possibly even sacrifice to stave off the end times. Each deity entry, that's kind of dark, contains the following information designed to help you roleplay a character who follows that deity. While only a cleric or paladin gains a mechanical effect from the deity's edicts, anathema, and favored weapon, any follower is likely to hold the edicts dear, feel guilty when performing anathema acts, and consider fighting with her deity's favored weapon. I do like here that they are saying, here's a bunch of roleplay. Please consider roleplay. Despite the overwhelming skeleton of mechanics that surround your choice of deity. I do respect the fact that they have this here as a roleplay guide. Especially because there are 11 billion gods in Pathfinder. Desna, goddess of bad girl tattoos. Oh, because it's a butterfly? Well, I'm not too worried about how people judge my views and morals, I think, even though I think they are probably more on the extreme dark side, as I am very cynical. It's more... People can be difficult. When you're sitting down playing a game, Kames, you are playing with friends or family. You're playing with people, but you're playing with those who have entered into this mutually agreeable social contract at the dinner table, at the game store, or wherever, that you're there to have fun. You're there to, to laugh, to cry, to have tense moments, to achieve victory, or even experience defeat, as your character might be killed. So, I wouldn't worry about people like some... like agoraphobic, like I can't be in the middle of Times Square because I can't trust people, because that's a vastly different circumstance than sitting down with like 4 or 5 friends, having pizza or Thai food, and playing some D&D in a intimate environment. Romantic Day, it's great to see you again. Metal Gear Solid, really good voice acting. I would agree, and you know what, if we want to talk about like the quality of the sound files, as you know, everything was on CD and such, you know, we could bring that up. I think the voice acting was good, and the writing was purposely cheesy, by the way. The writing was supposed to be purposely like cheesy over the top. I guess my fear of people is similar to my fear of needles. The worst part is getting there. When I sit there, I look at the needles stinging me with great interest. Yeah, so games, you find a game and just jump into it. Preferably in a heads-up environment. Preferably. Alright, so here's a big roleplay, and it does say, like, look, there's only 2 classes that have mechanical benefits or detriments. We would like you, if you do follow a god, for instance, if you do follow Desna, the aloof Song of the Spheres presides over dream, look, stars, and travelers, that your character, though there's no mechanical detriment, does not cause fear or despair, cast nightmare, which is a very specific thing, or use similar magic to corrupt dreams. I mean, so in that case, just play Barbarian. I mean, I guess maybe cause fear, but I mean, you don't have to be a savage just because you're a barbarian. So some of the anathema, again, it's like some of the anathema for the gods are like driving to Amish country and saying, I bet you can't go 1 year without driving a car. Ha ha, I'm gonna get you. Because you're like, what? Okay. So I specifically won't take, nor will I specifically cast Nightmare on someone. I don't think I'm going to face a situation where I'm going to accidentally, like, roll a 1 on an attack and just cast Nightmare, even though I don't have it prepared or at all. So you look at this anathema and you're like, really? But some of the anathema is actually good and solid, and I like it. We discovered that the other night, actually. The one god that, of everyone, look, let's be real here. Kind of like what we talked about with the Starbucks menu. You have so many options for gods, but I think that the majority of the gods chosen, this is my opinion and anecdotal, there's probably going to be like 4 gods. There's probably going to be 4 gods that are actually chosen and played with any kind of majority out of the entire pantheon. Because statistically, they're the best gods. Because of their weapon, their domain, their powers they give you. That kind of a thing. Or if we go with the conception, well, look, every campaign has undead. I'm going to choose Serenray because not only is she like an anti-undead god, as Kramer was talking about last night, not only is she anti-undead with fire and light and healing, but she's also a healing cleric, and I'm going to get a bunch of free healing, and every party needs healing. So, again, this is a danger. This is a danger of having so many things to choose from. You can cause choice paralysis in people, or the community is really just going to find it's like water. Water and electricity take the path of least resistance. Because when you have 11 billion air molecules going from the storm cloud to the ground, that lightning is going to check and bounce between those 11 billion air molecules going all the way down. Or a river is gonna flow over 11 billion rocks out to the sea in the path of the least resistance. And so when you have 20, 30 gods that have 20 or 30 weapons and whatever, eventually, with enough time, you know, as we progress, we're gonna find the path of least resistance, and we're gonna find what 4 gods are the best. and we're going to play those gods, and then why do the other ones even exist except maybe to bring up every now and again, or be like, oh yeah, so Torag exists, but yeah, Torag's a dwarven god, so we're among the dwarves, whoopity-doo. Kames, I would probably have to play with people online. I think there's like 3.5 thousand people in my town. Oh, gotcha, Kames. Well, you know what, Kames? If you go onto our Discord, you can put up an ad that you're searching for a group, and maybe you can find some people to play with in a friendly environment that are all a part of the channel's community. You're welcome to do so, or you could just go straight to Roll20, and there's a lot of ads for people looking for players and such. It can give flavor to the character, Kames, and believe me, I'm all about flavor. I do not like min-maxing characters at all. So picking an oddball god could, yeah, it could be a lot of fun. I just see that as we're examining this as a playtest, submission, it's just kind of with my biases, with my experiences, with anything else I'm bringing to the table in this examination of the playtest. I find though that we are going to, everything is going to simplify into the best practice to play a goblin archer is this. And really nothing else matters except the same feats and the same, the same feats in every category. Because that's just the best archer to play. And you really want to play an archer, even roleplay wise. And yes, Kames, if you use this as inspiration, this is giving you all of these gods, and you might say, I only like these 6. I only like 1. I run a monotheistic world. There's not even a devil. It's just a monotheistic world. There's really not a hell. There is a kind of an afterlife, but there's no like Satan equivalent. It's just a monotheistic world. And you can take inspiration from this, of course. Homebrew, look. In a homebrew, anything is anything. You could run a very rules-light homebrew. Even if it's a Pathfinder homebrew. I think we could take this and make a very simplified version of it. With a little bit of time. But then you might say, well, we're undermining Pathfinder because Pathfinder is supposed to... It's just that. I'm trying to find my path through this whole open world of feats at every level. Which ones am I going to take? Where am I going to go in the world? And I say that in support. I do not have disrespect for the men and women who have been behind this project and spending time and effort writing and rewriting and doing all this other stuff. Yeah, Pathfinder Light, the homebrew. I respect them for the time and the effort, and so we're going to go through it, and we're going to find things that maybe could seem jarring, or could use improvement, or... Ask yourself, when we reach the end of this document, why do I want to play this game? And you can ask this, by the way, of Dungeons and Dragons, any edition, 5th or anything else. Why do you want to play Pathfinder Second Edition, or Pathfinder First, or D&D Fourth? It's a universal question, not meant to pick on Paizo. What benefits does this game provide you? What is the attraction? Why do you want to invest money in this game? And I'll tell you, if you don't think about it, I certainly have to. Because you know why? This product is going to go on my shelf when it's out. At my store. And someone's going to come up to me and say, Why would I want to play Pathfinder Second Edition? And I'm going to have an answer for him. An honest answer, by the way, despite my own biases. Why would you play Pathfinder Second Edition? So it's a world with only one real god. Well, see, the thing is, it's not even like a manifested god. It's just it's a communal concept. But there are groups that have created their own religions. Kind of. There's groups that have animistic religions. But there's really only one organized religion. It's kind of it has split throughout the campaigns into kind of a Catholic Protestant sort of. They both worship the same god. They just approach the methodology in two different ways. But yeah, you could say that there's only one god. And again, there's not even a devil figure or a hell. Corrida, Paizo, Wizards of the Coast, and most other developers say, here's the base. You can play this to the letter, or you can take what you like and change it and throw out what you don't. Do what you will, ultimately. Yeah. I don't think I've been saying things otherwise, Corrida. Especially when we were going through Eberron. That was a big feature. Here's what Eberron says, and you know what? If you want to insert this into your world, here's how you do it. Here's how I did it. Rule 0 is a good selling point until it isn't. Is Rule 0 what Corrida said? I don't know if I'm familiar with Rule 0 as a term, King. Oh, gotcha, Corrida. Before diving into how to play, it's important to understand the different modes of play which depend on the story and the pace of the adventure. Each mode of play is suited to a different flow of time in the game world and level of risk to the players. The game master is in charge of determining which mode works best for what the characters are up to, and controls the transitions between modes. Each mode has its own rules for resolving actions and activities. In encounter mode, time is divided into a series of rounds, each lasting 6 seconds. On every round, each participant has a turn to act and take a number of discrete actions. This mode of play is most often used for combat and other high-stakes situations. The rules for encounter mode begin on 304. In exploration mode, time is more flexible and the style of play are more freeform. Here, minutes or even hours in the game world could pass quickly in the real world. This mode of play is frequently used when traveling, exploring a dungeon, or role-playing in a town. Developments in exploration mode can lead to encounters, causing play to alternate between encounter mode and exploration mode as the story unfolds. And then you have downtime mode. Little risk, you can forge a magic sword, etc. Rule 0 equals have fun, do whatever with the rules. Okay, gotcha, Corrida. And so you say that's a selling point until it isn't. So, King, could you give an example of when... I'm not saying this is a challenge that I disagree, but can you provide an example of when it's not a selling point? Or when it's not a good point? I think I can come up with a few myself, but I'm interested in what you have to think, or what you have to say. GM can call upon you to attempt to check whenever you need to resolve a conflict. Okay. Identify modifiers, bonuses, and penalties. After you roll your d20, you'll identify all the relevant modifiers, bonuses, and penalties that need to be applied to the roll. Modifier can be either positive or negative, but a bonus is always positive and a penalty is always negative. Okay, ability modifier. Yeah, so we're adding this. If you're untrained, trained, expert. So everything grows with your level, but you do get these riders that go along with it. And proficiencies with these different things. Bonus, there are circumstance bonus, conditional bonuses, item bonuses. Same with penalties, and then you calculate the result. Okay. You get some caffeine. Alright, so here, once you've identified the modifiers, bonuses, and penalties that apply to you, you calculate the result. So, everyone out there, this is what I want you to do every time I want you to calculate a check result. Are you ready? Result of a roll equals number on the die plus ability modifier plus proficiency modifier plus circumstance bonus plus conditional bonus plus item bonus plus circumstance penalty plus conditional penalty plus item penalty plus untimed penalties. Did you get that? Once more, I'll try and slow it down, but this is what I want you to add up and check for when you roll a dice to do something. The result of the roll equals number on the die plus ability modifier plus proficiency modifier plus circumstance bonus plus conditional bonus plus item bonus plus circumstance penalty plus conditional penalty plus item penalty plus untyped penalties. Did you get that? This is simple arithmetic, everyone. Come on now. Don't go to sleep on... Oh, I see you out there. Hey. Hey. Don't you roll your eyes. MDT13, I'm beginning to feel like a rap god. Did we win? I don't know. Kames, did you do the math? When you roll to tell me if you think it looks like rain looking at the sky, remember it's the following. Number on the die plus ability modifier plus proficiency modifier plus circumstance bonus plus conditional bonus plus item bonus plus circumstance penalty plus conditional penalty plus item penalty plus untyped penalties. Come on. Hey, keep the flow of the game going. We ain't got all day. Stop adding numbers. You're supposed to have this ready. Come on. This is why we don't do combat. Combat takes so long. Come on, everyone. Hey, keep it going. Don't make me break out the minute timer. Four. The answer is 4, says Kames. I mean, look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If you can't check 10 variables to every roll, every time you roll to do something, you're playing the wrong game, my friend. It's just 10 variables and a bunch of arithmetic. Hi, Ooze. It's good to see you. The true answer is fish, and not even 42? Well, so long and thanks for all the fish, right? By the way, just as it is in 5th edition, if you have more than one bonus of a particular type, apply only the highest. Most likely, King. Most likely. But I think what this is getting at is if you have a +2 item bonus from a glove and a +3 item bonus from a foot slot from a boot, you take the +3 as the item bonus because that's the highest. But you still get your circumstance bonus and your conditional bonus. But yeah, I think a lot of, King, I think what you're saying, a lot of classes have different either circumstance or conditional bonuses that they would be adding in. But as long as you can, on the fly, calculate these 10 variables at any given point in time, at any point, or at any state in the game, fluidly enough to keep the combat or the checks going, you're good. You're golden, you're Gucci. You know, role-playing is good for basic math, Kames. Okay, there are 2 types of armor class. There's normal and touch armor class. And this is, it tells you how to calculate it. You can determine your degrees of success. If you roll a 20, it's an it's an automatic critical success. Or if it's a non-20 roll, but you succeed at the DC, or if you're attacking AC, and it's 10 or higher, that is also a critical success. A failure is a 1, or a critical failure is a 1 or a minus 10. I remember having the teacher's question of Pokemon cards. Kames, yes. I have sold Pokemon cards to teachers who want to teach art, math, language skills. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Failure and critical failure. If your result is less than the DC, you fail. For actions you initiated, this typically means there's no effect. If you're rolling a saving throw, failing generally means that you're affected by a spell or ability. If you roll a 1, yeah, so we went over that. There's flat checks. When there's a chance that something will happen or fail to happen based on pure chance, you can attempt a flat check. A flat check never includes any modifiers, bonuses, or penalties. You just roll a d20 and compare the result on the die to the DC. There's also secret checks. When a player shouldn't know the exact result of a roll for their character, the rules call. The rules, not even you as a GM, because the GM tells, or the rules tell you as a GM, that you must perform a secret check. This type of check uses the character's normal modifier, but is rolled by the GM, who doesn't reveal the result. Instead, she simply describes any information or effects that result from the check. If a player doesn't know a secret check is happening, for instance, if the GM rolls a secret fortitude save for a player against a poison he failed to notice, he can't activate a fortune or misfortune ability, see the sidebar, in that check, but any such effect that would apply automatically to that type of check still applies. If a player knows the GM is attempting a secret check, as often happens with Recall Knowledge or Seek, he can activate fortune or misfortune abilities. The GM can make any check secret, even if it's not usually secret. I do not like... I roll as a DM. My rolls are out in public view. I don't hide them behind a screen, and I don't cheese my rolls. Where I roll a 14, I'm like, oh, that's a 4. Just trust me on it. So, this, despite the rules calling for a secret check, I would not use secret checks. And the reason why I choose to roll openly is it keeps me an honest DM. Because if I kill my players, I mean, it's my fault, right? I can't cheese it and pull back an encounter and be like, oh no, the zombie rolled a 1. Oh, it rolled a 1 again. Just trust me on this. I swear I'm not cheesing the fight and going from there. Because even if you want to, if you want to increase some tension and you do a dice roll out in the open, and that's what the secret is. They don't know what it's for. Sometimes you just roll a die. So, I would very flagrantly violate this rule as a GM. That's my personal bias. If you GM Pathfinder, you may very well use secret checks. I'm not saying that secret checks are bad. I've just been... I don't know. I guess I'm just biased. I'm biased. Damage types. Yep, 3 different types. Bludgeoning, piercing, slashing. Fortune and misfortune effects can alter how you roll your dice. These abilities might allow you to re-roll a failed roll, force you to re-roll a successful, allow you to roll twice and take the higher result, or force you to roll twice and keep the lower result. You can never have more than one fortune or misfortune effect come into play in a single roll. For instance, if you roll twice and take the higher roll, you can't use Halfling Luck to re-roll it if you still fail. The multiple fortune effects would apply, you have to pick which to use. If 2 misfortune effects apply, the GM decides which is worse and applies it. Weapons and effects keyed to particular alignment can deal chaotic, evil, good, or lawful damage. I don't like alignment as a stat. Okay. Doubling and halving damage. Sometimes you'll have to halve or double an amount of damage. When you have damage, roll the normal damage specified and have the result rounding down. Okay. How you double damage depends on the effect's delivery. If the damage comes from an effect with an attack roll, you roll double the normal number of dice and apply all damage modifiers, bonuses, and penalties twice. If the damage comes from an effect allowing a creature to attempt a saving throw, you double the damage total. Okay. For example, if you critically hit with a +1 longsword, you would roll 4d8 and add your modifier twice instead of rolling 2d8 and adding your modifier once. On the other hand, if one of your enemies critically fails its saving throw against your 3rd level fireball, you would roll 6d6 damage and then double that total. Yep, that makes sense. You can make a non-lethal attack in an effort to knock someone out instead of killing them. Weapons with the non-lethal trait, including fists, do this automatically. If you're making a non-lethal attack with a weapon that doesn't have the non-lethal trait, calculate your attack roll's result as if you were untrained with the weapon. Likewise, you can attempt lethal attacks with a weapon that has the non-lethal feature, also calculating your attack roll's result as though you're untrained. In 5th Ed, it just says, well, the rules say if you're attacking with a melee weapon, you can just choose to knock someone out. You don't need to go through this dance of recalculating stuff. I take it a step further, and I say if you want to knock someone out with magic, or you want to knock someone unconscious with an arrow, like a ranged weapon or something, if you can describe how you're doing it, I will allow it. I think the big thing is when they have high pick luck, for example, and roll high, they can say, guys, I failed this with a high roll, so it's good stuff. Immunity, weakness, and resistance. Protections against certain type. Okay. Apply immunities first and weakness and resistance third. Immunity, weakness, and resistance to alignment applies only to the damage of that type. Immunity, it can't be affected by that type of damage or effects with the trait. Weakness is a weakness to certain types of damage or damage from a certain source. It increases that damage by the amount of the creature's weakness. For example, if a creature takes 2d6 fire damage and has weakness 5 to fire, it takes 2d6 plus 5 fire damage instead. And resistance mitigates damage to that number. A creature with resistance reduces damage dealt to it by the amount listed in its resistance entry to a minimum of 0. Resistance can specify damage types or certain other properties of attack. For instance, a creature might be resistant to non-magical bludgeoning damage, meaning it would take less damage from bludgeoning attacks that weren't magical, but would take normal damage from a +1 mace or a non-magical spear. A resistance might have an exception. For example, resistance 10 to physical damage, except silver, would reduce any physical damage by 10 unless that damage was dealt by a silver weapon. If the creature has more than one type of resistance that would apply to the same instance of damage, use only the highest applicable resistance value. It's possible to have resistance to all damage. If you have resistance to all damage, apply the resistance to each source separately. If an attack would deal 7 slashing damage and 4 fire damage, resistance 5 to all damage would reduce the slashing damage to 2 and negate the fire damage. King says, anyway, Rule 0 is an interesting prospect because it aligns with the sandbox selling point of tabletop RPGs, and that allows you to carefully adjust all sorts of little things to your needs. Not that a book is ever going to argue with you, but Rule 0 is also a creative excuse and a terrible thing to lean on as a product. And this reads like a technical manual with no levity. If I gotta rewrite how fighters work, I might as well be making my own game since it's just a D20 variant. King, very good point. Thank you for sharing that. Sometimes a magic item or spell that inflicts a weakness or grants a resistance interacts with a creature's intrinsic weakness and resistances or other effects. If you have a weakness to a damage type and gain a resistance to it, first lower the weakness by the amount of the resistance. After this, if there is any remaining resistance, the amount becomes the actual resistance. For example, if you have weakness 5 to fire but gain resistance 10 to fire, your weakness is reduced to 0 and you gain resistance 5 instead. Damage and enhancements. Some abilities that deal damage have enhancements. These take effect only if you deal at least 1 damage. For instance, if you use a poison blade to attack a creature with slashing resistance, and the creature takes no damage because of its resistance, it's not exposed to your poison. Your maximum hit points. Some spells and other effects can heal living or undead creatures. When you are healed, you regain hit points equal to the amount healed up to your maximum. When most creatures reach 0 hit points, they die, unless the attack was non-lethal, in which case they are knocked out for a significant amount of time, usually 1 minute or more. When undead and construct creatures reach 0 hit points, they're destroyed. Player characters don't automatically die when they reach 0 hit points. Instead, they're knocked out. Villains, powerful monsters, enemies with healers or regeneration, and any other NPCs at the GM's discretion are all knocked out like a PC as well. When you're reduced to 0 hit points, you get knocked out. When this happens, you are subject to the following effects. You fall unconscious. You immediately move your initiative position to directly before the creature or effect that reduced you to 0. If the attack was lethal, you gain the Dying 1 condition. If you already had the Dying condition, instead increase your Dying condition by 1. If the attack was a critical hit, you gain the Dying 2 condition. If the attack was non-lethal, you do not gain the Dying condition or increase your Dying condition, and you return to 1 hit point, though you remain unconscious. If your Dying condition reaches 4 or greater, you die. So it's kind of like a death saving throw. You have to get to dying 4, and then you die. So at 0 hit points, you're over, and you start accumulating this dying condition. When you're unconscious at the start of each of your turns, you attempt a special fortitude saving throw to regain consciousness, called a recovery saving throw. The GM sets the DC of your recovery saving throw when you're knocked out. This DC equals the DC of the spell or ability that dropped you plus your current dying value. If damage that reduced you to 0 hit points came from something that doesn't have a DC, such as an attack roll, use the attacker's oh my gosh, so you have to keep track. You have to keep track of like all the other enemies' DCs, and I get it. I get how it interacts. I just don't want to. LD50, when did Pathfinder 2E? So the playtest version came out on August 2nd, I believe it was. And you can download not just the playtest rulebook. There's actually you can get their bestiary, a sample adventure, and a lot of other stuff. And so what we're doing this week is this week and next week, we're going through the rulebook. We're exploring it. We're comparing it to D&D 5th edition, or we're looking back at Pathfinder 1, D&D 4th, or we're talking about other systems. But yeah, you can get for free. You can get the whole shebang from the Paizo website. Or if you live next to a friendly local game store, they might have gotten a hardcover published copy of the playtest. Well, I mean, in D&D King, you get 3 death saving throws. When you're unconscious at the start of each of your turns, okay. So we're tracking these DCs. Might decide different ability scores are appropriate. For example, a wizard's class DC usually uses intelligence, but if you knock someone out with his staff, the DC might use strength or dex. Possible effects of recovery save depend on whether you're at 0 hit points at risk of dying or 1 hit point stabilized with a chance to wake up. If you're at 0 hit points, you return to 1. Failure, your dying value increases by 1. A critical, your dying value increases by 2. If you're at 1 hit point or more, success, you become conscious and can take your turn normally, though you lose 1 action this turn, so in most cases you can take only 2 actions. You still have the dying condition. Reducing the dying condition at the end of each of your turns while you have at least 1 hit point and you're conscious, you reduce your dying value by 1. As with other conditions, when the dying value reaches 0, the dying condition ends. Taking damage while unconscious. If you take damage while you're already unconscious, apply the same effects as if you've been knocked out by that damage. If the recovery save DC for the new damage is higher than your current recovery save DC, start using the higher. Alright, Virus. Hey, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for being a part of things here. I very much appreciate it. And I'll see you around, either here or if I see you all broadcasting, maybe we can give you a raid sometime. The following conditions are crucial to understand death and dying. Dead, you're no longer alive. You can't act or be affected by spells that target creatures unless they specifically target dead ones. And for all other purposes, you count as an object. When you gain the dead condition, you go to 0 hit points if you had a different amount, and you can't be brought above 0 as long as you remain dead. Dying, you're bleeding out or otherwise at death's door. Dying always includes a value, and if ever reaches dying 4, you die. If you're dying, the recovery saving throws from the unconscious condition determine whether you get better or worse. If you have 1 hit point or more and are conscious, your dying condition decreases by 1 at the end of your turn each round. Unconscious, you've been knocked out. You can't act, and you have the blinded, deafened, and flat-footed conditions, and you take a -4 conditional penalty to AC. When you gain this condition, you fall prone and drop items you're wielding or holding unless the effect states otherwise or the GM determines you're in a position in which you wouldn't. You must attempt a recovery saving throw at the start of each of your turns. Heroic recovery, you can spend 1 hero point to lose the dying condition and return to 1 hit point, no matter how close to death you are. Death effects and instant death. Some spells and abilities can kill you immediately or bring you closer to death without needing to reduce you to 0 hit points first. These abilities have the death trait and are usually involve negative energy, the antithesis of life. If you are reduced to 0 hit points by a death effect, you are slain instantly without needing to reach dying 4. Some effects might state that they kill you outright, which means you gain the dead condition without having to reach dying 4. Other abilities can inflict the dying condition directly without having to reduce you to 0 hit points or to damage you when you're already at 0 hit points. You die instantly if you ever take damage equal to or greater than double your maximum hit points. So death due to massive damage. Temps. Some spells or abilities give you temp hit points. Keep track of these separately from your other hit points, and when you take damage, reduce your temporary hit points first. Yep, yeah. You can only have temps from one source at a time. That makes sense. The primary ways you affect the world around you are actions and activities. Actions can be completed in a very short time, they're self-contained, and their effects are generated within the span of that single action. During an encounter, you get 3 actions on your turn and can take them as described on 305. Activities usually take longer and require using multiple actions, which must be spent in succession. Stride is an action, but casting Fireball is an activity, because it lists the specific actions needed to be spent to generate its effect. Okay, activities, so they are multiple actions strung together. You have to do an activity all at once. An encounter must mean you can complete it during your turn, etc. Reactions and free actions. Okay. Yes, so how hard would it be to learn 5th edition? I haven't played since 3.5 Pathfinder 1E came out. And Oni-chan, the Weeb Hunter, 5th edition feels very player-friendly. LD and Oni-chan, yes. 5th edition is very player-friendly. It doesn't take that long to learn. while we are going over Pathfinder Second Edition Playtest, we have been comparing it to 5th Edition. In comparison, 5th Edition is a lot more user-friendly. These are my opinions, and I do carry biases, okay? 5th Edition is a lot more player-friendly. It is not as difficult to learn to play as a PC or as a DM, as a player or a runner. It's not as filled with minutia and mechanical nuance, as everything is pretty flatly stated, and it gives you plenty of wiggle room to roleplay any sort of differences or questions you may have. Primarily on this channel, we do feature D&D 5th Edition content. We run D&D 101 workshops where we'll make characters, we'll make maps, we'll go over making campaigns as ways to help teach you all how to play as a PC or a DM. And so if we will, even though we're talking about Pathfinder, if you have questions about D&D 5th Edition, myself and there's plenty of others over here in the community who can also help answer those questions. Oni-chan, yes, that is a good one-sentence summary. Pathfinder gives you depth in its rules, whereas 5e, you can create your own. I would agree with that. Now, when we're not broadcasting, if you wanted to join us on our Discord, we do have a mentor network that can help answer questions. It is a safe for work Discord, so you don't have to feel embarrassed like opening it up around friends or family. You're welcome to join us there. If you do, obviously keep it safe for work. But also, I would ask that your Discord username matches your the Twitch one, so that we have an easier time communicating. Also, you would gain access to the materials that we've already generated, right? You can go through and watch us do character creation on YouTube videos. You can watch us create a map and invoke aspects out of the DMG. You can watch us create a campaign that you could even download and use at your own dinner table if you wanted to. It's a very... Look, we run this like I run the game store, all right? It's a friendly community. We're here to talk, have fun, share, and go from there. It's so secret that I'm not even aware of it, King. I guess so, Volvo. Even I don't know about it. Hey, thank you very much. Run, follow me if you want to live. That's right. It's a secret to buddy. Oh, snap! Oni-chan, you've noticed us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. I'm happy that for the time that you've watched and you've listened, that we're worth your time and consideration and your subscription. That does mean a lot to me. And even without the subscription, I certainly welcome you to the community and be a part of it. Though, I guess welcome in a very official capacity. Sub-hype, for sure, Volvo. Let's see, we got some diagonals. We have orthogonal. I have not heard of that term. A 30-foot orthogonal or a 15-foot orthogonal. Let's see. So a lot of this is redundant to a lot of other systems. It's nice seeing a chart like this. Usually need an unblocked path to the target of a spell, the origin point of an area, or the place where you create something with a spell or other ability. This is called the line of effect. You need to check whether you have a line of effect. Draw a line like you do in determining cover. Only solid barriers break the line of effect. Fog doesn't matter for line of effect, nor do portcullises or other barriers that aren't totally solid. If you're unsure whether a barrier is solid enough, usually a 1 foot square gap is enough to maintain a line of effect, though the GM makes the final call. A line of effect also applies to areas. If there's no line of effect between the origin area and the target is unaffected by the spell. For example, if there's a solid wall between the origin of a fireball and a creature that's within the burst radius, that creature doesn't need to attempt to save against the fireball and is unaffected by it. Likewise, any ongoing effects created by an area cease to affect anyone who moves outside of the line of effect. Auras, okay. Always round down when you have or create a fraction or percentage of something. For example, if a spell deals 7 damage and someone takes half damage, they would take 3 damage. Okay, so it's round down. I gotta say, I fully understand why this is called Pathfinder now. I have heard that term used before too. Because, well, look, as it was put up above, as Onichan the Weeb Hunter said, I think Pathfinder gives you depth in its rules. So everything has a rule. Everything has a mechanic. Everything is mechanical, and you string together the gears that you want to power your character. Which would presumably require you to understand all the gears that are out there in order to choose the best gears. MDT, we ain't seen nothing yet. Oh, well, I'm going to be wrapping it up here shortly for the broadcast because it's 5:23 a.m. where I'm at. We'll go, you know what? We'll finish up here with hero points, and then we'll find someone to raid. Just wait until you add 3.5 third-party content and homebrews on top of everything. Your character earns hero points for performing heroic deeds or tasks, and can spend these hero points to gain certain benefits. Your character starts each game session with 1 hero point. The GM can award hero points when PCs perform further heroic deeds or tasks, or when players do something special for the group. For the character's actions, this all comes from the story. A character needs to do something selfless or daring beyond normal expectations. Players add hero points by taking on at least 1 additional responsibility, such as bringing food for the group, keeping a map of a dungeon, or taking notes. So, I normally, I joke, I'll give you a 10th level spell if you buy a pizza for me. But here, so a character needs to do something, daring or whatnot. Players add hero points by taking on at least 1 additional responsibility, such as bringing food for the group, keeping a map of a dungeon, or taking notes. So the game is encouraging you, if you step up and you play the party accountant, or you bring chips and dip for everyone, that you are to receive a hero point. And I don't say that begrudgingly. It's kind of interesting that they do want to bridge these meta IRL actions to empowering, your group. Look, anything that's written down in some codified manner can be abused. So you could get that guy who brings, who volunteers to buy chips and dip for people and keep the map of the dungeon and do the accounting, and who demands 3 hero points at the beginning of every session. On the other hand, you don't have to go through all that. Pathfinder's still enjoyable even if you don't optimize or anything. First edition, I mean. This game is very non-inclusive to entirely useless people. It is, but it's not as newbie hostile as some people claim. Oh, so if someone shows up and is just kind of a wallflower, you do not gain extra benefits of hero points. Unless, I guess, your GM gives you, like, pity points. You can make a vanilla cleric and just AFK your way through campaigns, just being a support or buff bot. Ooze, I demand nothing but justice. Each game session, the GM should award no more than 1 hero point per PC for in-game actions. Alright, so here's, I guess, where the IRL min-maxers are foiled. Plus 1 hero point per PC for out-of-game actions. This number can be higher for game sessions longer than... Wow, they're... Paizo, come on. Are you dictating our game session lengths here? Come on. Come on. I know this is hyperbolic. But come on. Are you micromanaging on a meta level? On an IRL, out-of-character, out-of-game level? Your character can have a maximum of 3 hero points at a given time. These points can't be saved up over the course of multiple sessions. At the end of each game session, your character loses all hero points. Spending hero points doesn't require your character to take an action, a reaction, or a free action. Spending a hero point allows you to stave off death. Anytime you get the dying condition, or so it's a focus sash. Or or increase in severity, you can spend 1 hero point to lose the dying condition entirely, even if the increase in the dying condition would otherwise cause you to die. If you have 0 hit points, you also get a 1. Spending 2 hero points allows you to re-roll a d20. You must use the second result, but if you fail, you regain 1 of the hero points you just spent. You can't spend hero points more than once on a single roll. This is a fortune effect. And spending 3 hero points allows you to act 1 extra time in an encounter. You can spend the hero points on your turn to increase your number of actions for the turn by 1. To take an extra action when you've already used your reaction for the round, you spend these hero points when the trigger for that reaction occurs. You can't spend hero points to use additional reactions or reactions if you can't act. I don't get why hero points aren't a variable rule anyway, or a variant. It's a playtest. Maybe they will make it a variant. Again, this is playtest material, so we'll see. Contact Paizo, and you could bring this stuff up. We've found some weird interactions and other things also during the course of our videos this week. Ooze, you do not like hero points. Why is that, Ooze? It's a Pathfinder 1 variant rule that really doesn't warrant being a part of the core rule set, given that it's basically a deck of BS cards. Describing heroic deeds. Because spending hero points reflects heroic deeds or tasks that surpass normal expectations, if you spend a hero point, you should describe the deed or task your character accomplishes with it to the other players. Your character's deed might involve a lesson learned in a past adventure, could be spurred on by a determination to save someone else in the encounter, or might depend on an item that ended up in their possession due to a previous exploit or social interaction. If you don't want to describe the deed or don't have any strong ideas about how to do so, ask the GM to come up with something for you. This can be a collaborative process too. The GM might remind you of a long-forgotten event in the campaign, then have you fill in how that comes back at just the right time. This is what makes it awkward. I understand they want to encourage role-playing. The entire structure of Pathfinder is mechanical. That offers mechanical prompts and wants you to do everything mechanically. And so it feels a little jarring that they're asking you to go out of your way to roleplay in such a way that this is actually fulfilling the mechanic of they're saying if you're spending a hero point, mechanically you must describe it. And when you do that, when you ask for payment, We're getting back to business and economics, okay? Into sort of business psychology. When you ask or demand payment from someone for a product or service, the relationship with that customer becomes monetary. It becomes about the currency or whatever is bartered or exchanged. Therefore, good graces, good sentiment, other things like that are secondary or even tertiary to the account. So by dictating payment, even in fluff, for pure crunch mechanics, thereby skews the relationship of the game to the players, including the GM, or the GM following the rules but demanding payment from the PC in order to get the effect. Everything becomes a hostile exchange where only mechanics are exchanged for other mechanics. This is dangerous. This creates arguments. This creates time wasted at the tabletop calculating and trying to min-max your economy of action, or trying to manage the scarcity of all the mechanics to which you have access. You all probably didn't come here for a business lesson, but Professor Matty Morgs here is given one. In not just the hard sciences of exchanging money, but the softer social side of this. Now, in the ultimate umbrella meta, you don't have to follow any of these rules, playtest or otherwise. But this is a point that is very dangerous when you have so much dependent on a mechanical exchange of currency. I will pay you a feat slot in order to receive a feat. And it happens 11 billion times over the course. That might be a slightly exaggerated number. And it happens 11 billion times as you progress through your character. Your character loses your character. Or it can, or it's easier to. I'm not saying it happens 100% of the time. Suddenly your character is a mechanic for, or is a medium for mechanics. Is a vehicle for modifiers and a vehicle for feats. And now we are playing a spreadsheet simulator instead of a role-playing game. And this concerns me. I have biases, and one of that is I'm a big fat old touchy-feely DM. I'm the hippie kind of, yeah, describe to me what's happening. I'll work with you. Just tell me what's going on. Don't forget about mechanics. I don't care about whatever death saving throws. Or if the death saving throws triggered something, stop. Here. Hey, work with me. Just describe it. I don't care about mechanics right now. Because that's the context in which I run, but especially 5th edition has a ton of this minutia stripped out of it. Sorry, I got on a soapbox. Ooh says, out-of-game behavior influences game. This leads to very awkward metagaming. Yeah, out-of-game behavior tax. And so, I understand why because, you know, you're writing this, you know, you're working at Paizo, and you're like, hey, this is a good idea. This is going to make everyone happy, and everyone's going to be like, yeah, you know, Jane brought the chips and dip. You get a hero point. You get a hero point. And everyone is happy and holding hands, and we're telling a story, except now we're rewarding in-game benefits that are mechanical, and suddenly, did Jane bring chips and dip because she likes us? Or did Jane bring chips and dip because she wants an extra hero point? And now all of a sudden, Jane might not be as selfless as we thought she was. Do you see how that spoils relationships? How that causes doubt? When instead we move from a social contract of willing interaction to a game of obligation. Obligation breeds mistrust and resentment. Do any of you happily or willingly pay taxes? Or are you obligated to pay taxes? And if so, if you're obligated to pay a tax, does that, do you smile and put on lipstick and go mwah to the IRS or an equivalent in whatever country you're at? Because the sentiment and the feel good is there? Or is this purely a monetary transaction which you must do under penalty of law? Or that you will lose benefits if you don't do that? You see how sterile it becomes? How confrontational it can become? Meanwhile, you want to give $10 to a charity of your choice? You watch Games Done Quick, or you donate to your local church, or you volunteer time at a pet shelter. You're not obligated to do this. There's no mechanical benefit for you doing this. Well, I guess you could argue you could write off taxes. That's not the same as paying taxes, though. And yet, you find fulfillment. You find human social bonds. You find connection with others, and you get a sense that we are a part of something greater because it is voluntary and not obligatory. So I get what they're trying to do here. I just don't think it was considered in this fashion. Or maybe I'm taking this to an extreme. Am I? Am I in a soapbox? Like, am I being unreasonable? Please tell me if I am. I don't want to be some tyrant of sociology or socioeconomics, whether it applies to real life or, a fantasy storytelling game. Onichi and the Weeb Hunter, I doubt anyone will use this, but always bring snacks. I agree. Bring snacks because you want to bring snacks. Buy a pizza for your DM. I mean, maybe your DM will give you a level 10 spell, although level 10 spells mechanically exist. They even stripped away my level 10 spells. I can't give out a level 10 spell as a DM anymore. That was the joke. Get me a pizza and I'll give you a level 10 spell. Wink. But yeah, bring snacks. Tell jokes. Have some fun table talk. But pay attention to your character and don't waste time. And unfortunately, there's a lot of time to be wasted trying to calculate all these variables. Also, hero points don't feel very heroic. Should be called save your ass points. Right? I'm only using hero points to prevent my character from dying. Why is your character dying in the first place? Cryomancer! Thank you very much for the follow. Welcome aboard. Put more fire in your rees. Ree! Oh, you want something? I've had a lot of practice here. Now, we're going to go up, and I want you all to remember this. Now, mind you, usually combats take a lot of time in role-playing games, okay? And, doing, like, skill challenges and stuff like that. Dice rolling and calculating things and choosing your abilities take a lot of time. Now, I want you all to make sure that our game of really anything, but we'll use Pathfinder 2e Playtest. I want things to continue to flow, and I don't want to have to bring out a 1 or a 2 minute timer. So remember... where is it? Okay, here we go. Every time you roll a die, I want you to remember this very easy formula, okay? Every time you roll a die in this game, and I'll say it slowly, the result of your roll equals number on the die plus ability modifier plus proficiency modifier plus circumstance bonus plus conditional bonus plus item bonus plus circumstance penalty plus conditional penalty plus item penalty plus untyped penalties. Once more, I'll try and go slowly. When you roll a die and you're calculating the final number, just remember these 10 easy variables. The result of your roll equals Number on the die plus ability modifier plus proficiency modifier plus circumstance bonus plus conditional bonus plus item bonus plus circumstance penalty plus conditional penalty plus item penalty plus untyped penalty. Every dice roll. Okay? Don't make me break out that minute timer. I want this game to flow. Oni-chan the Weeb Hunter, I agree. Every game has flaws, and I could point out some in 5th edition. For sure. Don't think I'm holding up 5th edition as the golden god of tabletop role-playing games. I've played a lot. I've played a lot in my years. Not just of D&D. I've ran Dark Heresy and played Dark Heresy. I've done a lot. Not Pathfinder related, but I have to admit that I missed the prestige classes from 3.5 and the way you had to RP it out to get the class. That is kind of simulated in what they have going on here. There is an RP element, and it does encourage that. Although still, you're role-playing just for a mechanical effect. I don't know. Is it disingenuous? I do have some nostalgia goggles. I started playing D&D, playing and running in 3rd edition. And then it went into 3.5, and I like 4th. And here I am saying some stuff about Pathfinder that I'd probably find fault in 4th edition. I liked 4th. Though I do run in 5th currently. Circumstance conditional bonus is 2 different things. Yes. Yes, they are, King. And most DMs hand-waved away the most inconvenient requirements, but I miss Prestiges too all the same. I wish they were a viable choice now without having to run a Gestalt game. I think Pathfinder really shines online because of macros and such, where 5th is really easy to put a game together with friends or even kids. Yes, Oni-chan. If a lot of this stuff is automated and all you have to do is click a button to roll a die and it gives you a number, or a lot of it will handhold, one of the reasons, and I admitted this earlier, one of the reasons I enjoyed 4th edition D&D, I could be super lazy and use their character builder software. Or especially, the way you could build encounters in 4th edition. Oh, molto bene. Oh, I loved it. Not only could I be maximum creative, I could be super lazy at the same time, too. You make a good point. As a video game, we are reading video game code here. Because everything is checked and cross-referenced and there's tables of options, we are reading video game code. And now I sound like one of those people who say 4th edition D&D was an MMORPG. It's not really tabletop. And of course I'm like, what are you talking about? Of course it is. Let me just go to my software to build a character. I'll show you. But Oni-chan, yes, I think Pathfinder shines online. If you have the patience and everything to fill in it all, to make a macro, to set up all of the engine to run behind the scenes, I would definitely agree. Because, you know what, Oni-chan? Where Pathfinder's TUE is shining, you have choices for everything. Everything has a choice. And you could go super specialized, super deep on a character concept. It's just that as a mere human, you have to balance it against every other variable that exists. Ugh. I looked at Druid in 4th and I was like, nope. D&D is not chess with superpowers. Chess with superpowers. Cryomancer says they do Mace the Bog Basic Fighter too. There's a shine to making a lot out of nothing that you can not do in 5e, as you have to pick up a subclass. If you want kind of a classic fighter, you could just go Champion. I do like one hit... Ooze, Minions, brilliant. I love Minions, and I still use Minions in 5th edition. I don't care what it says. Minions are awesome in combat. Yes, and Cryomancer's on that too. Minions are brilliant. I love them. Games Pack, basically every time you level, especially 2-hit minions. Oh, got sneaky. Minions that can be bloodied. Basically every time you level, you pick 2 classes instead of 1, and you level in both. Yes, Gestalt. Or Gestalt, if you're to pronounce it a little bit more efficiently. It's kind of the SH. Anyway. Pathfinder's for people that like to crunch numbers and want serious choices, which is a lot of people. Yeah, and I have nothing against those people. Pathfinder has been successful for how long now? 10 years? 10 years for first edition? And only now are they moving to kind of a 4th edition-esque format for their second edition? Crunch is a big part of Pathfinder. I mean, look, we're on a platform where people speedrun video games to exploit every frame programmed into a video game. People love this stuff, and I watch that stuff on this platform. And yeah, it's difficult to speedrun a dungeon, but here we are, you know, you could kind of like min-max a character as kind of a similar way to show that, you know, this is the best elven archer you could hope to make, etc. And care-up forums are going to be exploding. Min-maxers are going to just, you know, they're just going to, like, be super happy. I don't begrudge people who care-up or min-max. Just because it's not my favorite style. Yeah, stop liking things I don't like. Just because it's not my preferred style doesn't mean that there's not a bunch of others who love jumping into... they would jump into this playtest like a kid jumps into a ball pit, right? Options everywhere. Colorful. I'm rolling around in them. I love it. I also like the idea of characters gaining skills and such in game, not just due to leveling. For example, I do not really like that you learn a language suddenly out of nowhere. Yeah, you know, a DM or a GM might have you learn it over the course of time. That's up to you, Kane, whether or not you weave more time between sessions or adventures. Lord of the Rings was a full 30 years of people kind of messing around. The first hour and a half of the movie is like 10 years. Cryomancer, I like running and playing 5e because it's almost impossible to get bogged down in rules. I do agree with that, Cryomancer. Min-maxing only works if you don't challenge character in more ways than one. By the way, as we're in session 3, here's 40 experience points for you all. Thank you very much for sticking around. You know, we have all the different chat games and the fun commands down below. You can go on adventures, have some fun roleplay prompts and whatnot. Legends of the Wulin handles this sort of thing pretty well, as they give you a side EXP pool to buy into plot-related things. So yeah, I want to make sure that we are being honest with the game, and we are talking that there are bright points. Or there are points that maybe, well, I'll say we, but you might have different experiences and preferences. So there's points that I may not agree with, but there could be 100 people to my one that love this sort of thing. And are going absolutely like they're biting, they're savaging their physical copies of the playtest book because it has all of the bite and the crunch that they need as a healthy part of their daily diet. I'm not saying this tonight. I'm going to wait for tomorrow. I'll practice my bidder, my auctioneer voice, or my Micro Machines guy voice for tomorrow when we learn how to calculate a perception check. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. For those of you who are new here, thank you for finding us. I hope that you've enjoyed yourselves, that I've been entertaining, informative, that you also have gotten to share in the same soapbox upon which I stand. You're a part of the platform and the community. Thank you for your own words of advice, sharing your own experiences. For those of you tonight who have subscribed or donated bits, thank you also. Being someone who does run a game store, someone who knows that, you know, what it means to earn trust and respect, let alone the money that you've worked hard for. I'll continue to keep up. I hope I'm doing a good job. I'll continue to keep up the good job. I will be back tomorrow at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And we'll try and finish out the basic rules. And then I usually don't broadcast Sunday or Monday. And when we come back, well, Tuesday is when I actually run a 5th edition game here on the channel using community members. Then when we come back on Wednesday, having reviewed the rules, we will try to do what we do for our 5th edition sessions and randomly generate Pathfinder 2e playtest characters. I'll get a form-fillable PDF and we'll go through the steps. Let's see. Kames, I can see the party, or at least some of the characters, taking a break from adventuring to just stay in a town and learn something. I guess if one day I'd run a game, I would give the characters have more than one character to play in such a case. When they leave one to learn, maybe the other goes out to play. You can also have downtime in a campaign too, Kames. There's nothing wrong with that. Crymaster, you wish you got here sooner? Well, you can always go back and watch the VOD. Also, these segments will show up on YouTube. I'll put a couple links here. So you can see the things that we do on our YouTube. You can visit our Discord. You can generate a link with !Discord. Every week in our Discord, by the way, under past content, these are the characters we make, and every week we make a campaign that you can download and use. We give you the outline of a campaign, something to think about. The past 2 weeks we spent kind of doing the same thing we're doing to Pathfinder. We did it to Eberron. Because there's that playtest packet out there too. So you can watch characters be created. You can watch maps. You can see us use the PHB, the DMG. You can see us invoke all kinds of things and have a conversation. It is here for you if you need help or inspiration in something. We also have a mentor network up here. So if you need help balancing an encounter, coming up with an idea, learning an art technique, overcoming writer's block, you want to learn how to use Roll20 better, you want to start streaming content, you have questions on how to stream, you can talk to our mentors in our workshop about that. It's a safer work Discord. So you can open it up, just don't get in trouble at work. But, you know, friends or family. And I ask that if you do join and your Discord name is different than your Twitch handle, that you sync the two up, please. Let's go find someone to raid here. Oh, Casual RP. Casual RP, I raided them the other day. They are a group, it sounds like they're Australian, or at least a couple of them are, who do a live tabletop session. Lots of fun, very dynamic. They have a doggo that shows up. And talk about bringing snacks to the tabletop. They do, in fact, bring snacks to their tabletop as well. So let's go say hi, give them a good old Maddie raid. We're going to /raid Casual RP and go say hi to him. Oh, I get what you're saying, Kames Pact. Volvo, thanks for the beautiful home. You're very welcome, and thank you for being a part of it and adding to it. Volvo, you gave a generous bit donation, and I'm very grateful for that. Poor Dark Wolf is already down to half health, though. She just took over Stream Boss, too. All right, everyone, I'll see you tomorrow night. Thank you so much. You are awesome.